And we're very privileged today to be joined live by General N.C. Vij, former Chief of the Army Staff. He's also an author, and his brand new book, which couldn't be more timely, is just out. It's a book called Alone in the Ring. It's about decision making in critical times. General N.C. Vij, for those who may not be familiar, especially among our younger audience, was the army chief who conceptualized and built India's most important anti-infiltration measure, the famous fence that goes right along the entire line of control. He did that while he was the army chief during 2003 to 2005. General Vij has also served and commanded across many different levels in Jammu and Kashmir. General Vij, always a privilege, sir. Thank you very much for your time. It's good to see your book, which will add, in great measure to India's understanding of the military and how critical decisions are being made. And I look forward to reading it, and I recommend it to all of our viewers. General Vij, I'd like to start with, with something that you cover in your book, but also pegged on what we're seeing right now, General, happening in Jammu. There appears to be a concerted and very deliberate attempt to escalate the levels of violence south of the Pir Panjal. As a former Chief of the Army Staff, General, how do you assess this? How do you read this, sir?
Shiv, thank you very much. And good evening to you.
Good evening.
For having me on your show. You see, Pakistan's main effort in the proxy war has been to keep J&K in a state of disturbance. And now that the elections are approaching and they are definite about it, because both the Supreme Court has given that decision and the government has also announced, and the Prime Minister during his recent visit to Kashmir gave the indication that the statehood will be restored and the election will be held. They are now trying their very best. Unfortunately, what has happened is that we also, because seeing the condition which was there, perhaps have done some thinning out of troops from the south of Pir Panjal. And that has perhaps created a little disturbance in the insurgency grid. And perhaps the army would have already started the measures to create that balance again so that they are in a position to hold this thing. But this is a game which goes on. Sometimes you find that you are on the receiving end and sometimes they are the ones. So, but yes, it is a matter of concern and we will have to take that into account.
How challenging will it be to, recalibrate things for Jammu, sir? Because traditionally, as we've seen, terrorist violence has been focused on South Kashmir, the Kashmir Valley, etc. How challenging will it be to sort of recalibrate things in Jammu where, such levels of violence have never been seen before, sir?
Yeah, because in Jammu, it's not that they were being nice towards the people in Jammu.
Yeah.
It is just because the army had controlled it and so had the police in conjunction with each other. It will be possible, and I don't see any difficulty when the troops are brought in back. Because some troops have been moved out from here to Ladakh. So that had to be done because the number is the same. So I don't think it will take much time. And we should be able to restore the status in this area.
It's interesting, General Vij, how your book, the subheader of your book's title is Decision Making in Critical Times. And that goes to the heart of what will actually happen now with the army leadership and the government leadership. Isn't it a difficult decision? You've been in the hot seat in situations like this, post-Kargil, Operation Parakram, etc. As a former army chief, this whole challenge of priorities, you've had to pull out troops from the Jammu area, send them to the line of actual control. Now you're facing a challenge in Jammu, so you may have to bring some back. How difficult are these decisions, sir?
Well, these decisions are always difficult, but not all that difficult that you can be overawed by them. You can always make readjustments.
Yeah.
And there are many troops which are in the peace station. Yes, they will have to be moved out a little earlier. So you can manage that. I don't see any great difficulty in a situation of this kind.
General, see, as civilians, as journalists, sometimes the numbers seem daunting. The numbers seem disturbing. 7 attacks in the last month and a half. 15 army personnel, killed in action, etc. And not to say that these are not taken extremely seriously by the army, but obviously the army has a much more professional approach in how to respond to such things. So, while in the civilian sphere, the public call is when will we react, when will we respond, kab aayega, etc. What would the mood be within the army right now, sir? How difficult is it to look at things in a very measured, clinical way before responding?
No, they would be already doing it, I'm sure. Actually, I'm sure they would have started quite a few days back and taken decisions as to what they should be doing. Otherwise, it is too late. We must be already in a mood to react and in a position to react. And the decisions to move troops from where and already should have been taken by now.
But, because sir, we live in a time when the Uri surgical strikes, the air strikes in Balakot, are being seen as, sort of benchmarks as far as Indian response is concerned. But as someone who has covered defense for a long time, and also, by the way, I began my career as a defense journalist when you were the chief of the army staff, sir. We are aware that these things are much more complicated than that. But would those kinds of high-level responses be part of the possible matrix of responses by the Indian government at this time? We know that in the past, between 20 and 40 soldiers had been, killed in those terror attacks, necessitating large-scale reactions. What about now, sir?
I don't think we have reached that kind of a state, or we are going to reach that at all. I don't see it as that serious. Earlier also, since you mentioned about the period of 2002, 2004 and all that.
Yes.
At that time also a lot of disturbance was there, and a number of casualties were much, much higher, and number of infiltration was much higher. Now it has been brought much under control, and we should be able to get hold of these things.
Yes.
I don't think there is a requirement for a reaction of the kind of Balakot and all that. But that goes even for the government to decide. But I don't feel that that is the necessity at this stage.
General Vij, one of the most important anti-infiltration measures was taken. It was conceptualized by you personally and executed by, under your leadership of the army between 2003 and 2005. And that was, of course, the fence along the line of control, which has played a very important role, like you rightly said, in bringing down infiltration and being a real barrier, a physical barrier as far as, the continuing infiltration is concerned. But isn't it also true now, sir, that much more needs to be done? It's been 2 decades since the anti-infiltration fence was built. India needs to get more technology involved to monitor infiltrations. There are drones, there is AI, there are so many other things. I'm not saying things have not been done, but there is a great potential for use of technology in this sphere, sir.
Yes, there's a lot of merit in what you're saying. But firstly, I must correct the impression that fence is an obstacle. Fence was never meant to be an obstacle. It was to be a complete system of anti-infiltration. Right. Because fence by itself, all that you were looking for was a delay of 5 to 10 minutes at that particular position. And it was surrounded by the troops. There were platoon headquarters, company headquarters around it. And there was a good communication system. There were optical systems ahead of this. Right now, the army is already in the process of improving the fence. After all, nothing can be static and stagnant in life. There's to move on. And as you have mentioned, there are drones, there are better quality of booby traps, better quality of anti-infiltration systems which can be put in front of the bench in the fence. So all that is being done. As a matter of fact, there are some places where there's double layer of fence which has been put. But the troops have to be there. Troops have also to guard it. So that when a man stops, when the infiltrator stops, or is held up at the fence for those couple of minutes, that is the time he is eliminated. That is the entire theory behind it. The manpower still remains very important.
Very, 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 very true. And that's something that we need to look at even more closely. But, last couple of questions, General Vij, which is that, elections have been announced, not been announced, but they're scheduled to take place sometime in September, this year. some of your predecessors and other experts have opined on this issue, saying that with this kind of level of attacks taking place in Jammu, perhaps it's not the right time for elections. Where do you stand on that, sir? Because that adds even more pressure on the security forces.
Well, Shiv, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this is the level where you can even think of stopping the election. Election, we must go ahead. There's no requirement to stop the election, and we will be able to do it successfully. I've seen it being held under much more difficult circumstances. This particular situation is not that bad. It is just that on particular day you may find it looking a little more grim than the normal.
Yeah.
The elections have been held in much more difficult circumstances. And I'm sure by the time the elections come, we would have things much under control.
Your words
much before that.
Your words are going to serve as a great deal of solace, General, for those who are are very anxious at this time over whether the situation will be conducive for the conduct of elections. So you're saying that between now and September, some measures will be taken. You're confident that things must be already rolling within the system to make sure that this situation is handled as aggressively as possible. That's what you're saying, General.
Yes, it will be done. It will be done. I'm very sure of that. It is nowhere near the situation where you should be that worried that we have to withhold the elections. I don't think so.
Okay, and is there any concern, sir, with the necessity for redeployment of troops, since troops had been pulled out from Jammu, sent to the line of actual control? China continues to be a factor, sir. China is a big player right on our doorstep in eastern Ladakh as well. How do you read that situation? It's been 4 years, since that standoff has continued. It's kind of frozen now. Nothing is actually happening, but they haven't moved away from there. There have been some minor disengagements, etc. But the larger threat from China remains in that area, sir.
Yes, you are very right. But those troops are not the one which will be picked up for being moved back to J&K. As I said, if the troops have to be moved, which will be perhaps required, and the army would be already thinking about it, these will be from the peace stations, which are already in their peace tenure. Yes, their tenure will be cut short by 6 months, 8 months, or whatever it is. But that is the requirement of the day, and the army doesn't shy away from things. They don't think of these peace tenures and all that too much about it. If the need is there, they will be there. And nobody would be cribbing about it.
General Vij, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for speaking to India today. And once again, Alone in the Ring by General Vij, one of our visionary army chiefs, is out now. Congratulations on your book. And I look forward to getting into the depths of some of the big points you raise. Good to have you on a day like this. I wish it was on a day with less loss or no losses at all. But today, as we pay tribute to these soldiers, young soldiers, and I know how many wreath-laying ceremonies you have attended in your entire career, in the Indian Army. These are days of sorrow and grief for the families and for the units themselves. So as we pay tribute, it was important for us to bring General Vij on because his word carries gravitas and wisdom, because these are things that we never want to see happen again. So I thank you, General Vij, for being with me on the show.
Thank you, and we bow our heads to these brave.
Thank you, sir.
They always make great sacrifice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir.